Alright, everybody, listen, it's time to talk about Shokugeki no Soma, the anime. The first 24 episodes, of course, we will most definitely be getting a season 2, I'll tell you that much. If we don't, I would be shocked. So, let's get into this. Shokugeki no Soma is amazing. Um, this, the manga, had me gripped from the beginning, but I think, JC Staff just brought this thing to life completely. Better than most anime adaptations I've ever seen. Easily, I don't know if I would say top five, but maybe top 10 animation adaptations I've ever seen. Um, it's so fucking well done with a few just a few weird like hiccups. And I'll get into that a little bit later with the story. But for now, I'm just giving you guys an overview. There will be some spoilers. So, like the Shimoneta review, there will be a spoiler free section, spoiler heavy, or spoiler alert section, as I called it. Or it's in the others, there weren't that many spoilers, but this needs a lot of depth for reviewing. So, story. Central plot for those of you who haven't seen it yet and might be interested in getting into it. The plot is, Yukihira Soma is going into high school basically, and he enrolls in a academy known as Tootsugi Academy, which is the um, it basically houses the best chef, cooking culinary students in pretty much in Zawardo, in the world. Um, and it's such a prestigious high school where cooking is everything. That's literally the motto that its chairman has, or director, I should say, um, Senzaimo Nakiri, um, is cooking is everything. So everything you do is based on merit um, with your cooking. And so they kind of took the prestigious high school trope and made a bit of a twist on it and turned it into a cooking culinary high school and fused it with that prestigious high school trope of, if your grades aren't this good, you're getting expelled because we don't want anybody subpar. So honestly, the story, that basic plot is really good. And along the way, of course, he meets many challenges, etc., including the ever presumptuous and pretentious Erina Nakiri, otherwise known as the God's Tongue, who, here's the spoiler alert section, who tells him that his dish is disgusting, and his goal ultimately is to um, make her say that his food is delicious. Pause. Um, so, you know, spoiler over. So, that's, somewhat of a side story, but it's part of the main plot as well. Um, so I think, just that is really good. And of course, the first half, a little bit, and we're going back to spoilers, is um, the first half being the training camp, essentially. The introduction and the training camp, and then the second half being the preliminaries to the autumn elections. So, we'll start with the first half. The first half, the training camp was really well done. The introductions, we were introduced to Soma in a very unique way where he had to serve customers who basically destroyed his restaurant, and he makes a dish so good that this woman and her bodyguards leave the restaurant alone forever, presumably. Um, and that's like that introduction was brilliant. And he gets into Totsuki, and you know, after Senzaemon overturns Erina's um, stupid ass decision, and we got introduced to in this introduction. We got introduced to Tadakoro, uh, Nikumi, not quite Takumi yet, but the Donars guy, but who's not really that important, but him, and the Polish Star people. So like Ibusaki, Ryoko Sakaki, Yuki, Fumio, Marui, and those two guys whose names I can never remember, and Ishiki Satoshi, part of the Elite Ten, which becomes part of the main plot, is trying to reach that Elite Ten status, which is awesome. I mean, everything was done well. Most of the characters had a humorous introduction or a strong introduction, mostly humorous. And so, you know, then we move on to the training camp where we get introduced to Takumi and Isami Aldini. We get introduced to the alumni, so Shinomiya, Hinako, Mizuhara, uh, and Dojima Gin, who is, now actually on staff, but was an alumni. And of course, all the meanwhile, he's trying to surpass his dad, who he doesn't realize was a second seat in the Elite Ten. So there's a lot going on in just this plot, and it's all done very nicely. And once he comes back, he finds out like that this is a thing. Now, this is where the anime deviates from the manga slightly. Um, the Mazuya part where he did the Karage was first before Joichiro came um, in the manga. It was reversed in the anime. So um, it was when Soma got home from the Karage incident in the manga that um, Joichiro came in and they did the Shokugeki, and then he basically tells him, you know, don't lose in the autumn elections. So that's the first half, and the first half was really good. It was awesome. We got a lot of great introductions, as I said, and there was a lot of great character development for everybody. Sans Erina. Oh, and also Hisako was there too. I mean, but she got introduced in like episode 2 or 3 or whatever. Um, and so the autumn elections, we didn't get through the whole thing, but we got through the prelims, and the preliminaries were hype as shit. Okay, we got introduced to, previously we got introduced at the very end of the training camp. We got introduced to Alice and Kurokiba, um, who, as you know now, are major contenders in the autumn elections. But we also got introduced to Hayama Akira, uh, the guy who has a great sense of smell and is very good at curry. So, he took the um, second highest score overall in the autumn elections, even though we have to say that because the judges were different, we can't necessarily say that Alice did the best. She had the highest score. That doesn't necessarily mean she had the best dish. Um, and Hayama, he completely stunned Soma and everybody else by basically taking that first place in the prelims for Group A. Um, and the whole plot of trying to make the best curry dish possible was really good. It was really hype because we saw everybody trying to test dishes and see what was the best. And there were so many characters that were contenders because there were only 8 people that could make it through. So, and let's count a lot of the major contenders. We had Soma, Hayama, Rio Kurokiba. We had Alice, Nikumi, Ryoko, Yuki, Ibusaki, Marui, um, Hisako, right? Then there was the introduction of Nao and Hojo, Tadakuro, okay, who actually did get in. Trying to think. I think I covered everybody who actually got in except the one guy. Um, so there were like there was like over half of the almost half of the cast that you knew had a chance of winning or getting into the next round got cut. So it was like there were all these contenders. Oh, and of course Takumi and Isami Aldini. I forgot about them because there's so many characters to keep track of. It's like it's so hard to name them all in one go. So like half of them got cut, and so now the eight that got in Group B, we had the highest being Alice, and then we had Hisako, uh, Takumi, and who was the last one? All of a sudden, I'm fucking forgetting who was the last guy in Group B. Uh, all I have to do is think about who made it in the next round. Nao didn't make it. I don't think no Isami didn't make it. It was trying to think of the matchups of how it worked. Uh, oh, Tadakoro. How the fuck did I forget about that? She made it in, and that story was awesome because she the whole thing with Hojo and saying she doesn't need a man. She don't need no man, and sort of hating on men and hating on women who only rely on men, and Tadakoro stunning the crowd and Hojo because the way she butchered the monkfish and then the way she cooked it, everything was just beautiful and it was her time to shine after all these E's or F's as we would say, all these fails, and now she's finally starting to shine where she can move on in the next stage of the finals or the finals of top eight of autumn elections. So Group A, Hayama Akira, Yukihiro Soma, of course, Ryo Kurokiba, and question mark? This is where the anime also deviated from the manga for one of the few spots that JC Staff decided to deviate from the manga, and that is that they did not tell you who that fourth person was. If you would like to find out, read chapter 59. If you do not, if you want to be surprised and you want to see the autumn elections come up, and then you get surprised as to who the guy is, yeah, I'm telling you it's a guy. Whatever. Well, considering that before then it was Marui and Ibusaki who were tied for that fourth place. So if you want to find out, you read 59. If you don't, if you want to be surprised when the autumn elections come up and you see the matchups, read from chapter 60 on. Okay? Otherwise, what would I personally recommend? I would say 59. And the reason is because I don't think there's that much surprise in it. Like, I think more or less if you start from 60, you're going to be confused rather than surprised. Because 59, you definitively find out who gets that fourth place and moves on. And I mean, yeah. So personally, I know some people have recommended 60. I recommend 59 personally. But again, it was a conditional recommendation. So that second half was brilliant. All right, story done. As a whole, it was awesome. Um, let's talk a little bit about the animation. The music. Sound and animation before I get into the characters. So I'll start with the sound. So music was pretty good. I noticed a lot of tracks that I wanted to get, especially like my favorite ones are the more upbeat tracks during like when Soma's doing something cool, um, and I think overall the music just fits, especially like the stripping scenes. Everything is pretty good. I'll talk about that a little bit later. Um, So the stripping scene music is pretty good, because it really drives home the point of how good it's tasting, and both dramatic and hype music good, slow music good, and the other part of sound is the voice acting, and of course sound effects fine. I don't really review that part, but voice acting, main character Yukihiro Soma is voiced by Mr. Main Character himself, basically, the guy who voices Eren Yeager in Japanese. Uh, and I think he does a lot of other main roles, but like when this was coming out, a lot of people were like, "Oh, it's the stock main character voice actor, who is Matsuoko. That's his name." Um, but honestly, I think of any role that Matsuoko has done that I've heard, I think Soma is the one that he fits the most. And to prove it, he's even done his own Shokugeki no Soma like live shows, because that's how dedicated they are to the series. Erina's perfect voice actress, Alice is perfect voice actress, Megumi perfect voice actress. Pretty much everybody has been nailed. Joichiro, great, same voice actor as Shanks, and it's pretty good. Um, Hayama, his voice actor is uh, that guy whose name I can never remember, but he plays in a lot of shit like Almine Daiki and Kuroko. I mean, Fate's Stay Night Archer, um, and Warwick and Gangsta. So anyway, great. Not something I expected, but it still worked. And just in general, everybody's voice actor and actresses were on point. Um, so let's get into the characters. Oh no, animation. Animation was fucking amazing. The visuals were fucking brilliant. The colors, everything was just on fucking point. JC staff, you get a clap for that. You get an ovation, because the amount of work that you put into Shokugeki no Soma was unfucking believable when it came to the animation. Um, Everything was smooth. Everything was bright and colorful. It was it was beautiful. It was a piece of art. The visuals itself were just a piece of art to look at. Um, and that's not even talking about you know turning Shunseki's drawings to life, which, I mean, the artwork is OP and the animation is OP as well. So props, big props to you guys at JC. Keep it up, man. Um, Now the characters. I think, because I'm going on quite long, so I'm going to keep it sort of brief. The Most of the major characters were awesome. I think like Ishiki. Uh, I like the rest of the Polar Star members. Takumi, Nikumi, Hisako, Kurokiba, Hayama, Alice. They're all great characters for many different reasons. And the main three right now, I would say, are Soma, Erina, and Tadokuro. You guys know how I feel about Erina, so I'm not going to talk about her. I've talked very extensively about how I don't really like her personally, but she has potential. Tadokuro, awesome, great fucking character, who starts off as somebody that you think you're going to hate, and then you just end up loving, because she's so lovable and just gets better as it gets on, because she has like the cutesy demeanor, but her her abilities as a chef are nothing to sneeze at. Like that, they're not the best, but they're fucking good. Like, she made it into the autumn election finals, so like that's a big thing. And when I say finals, I mean top 8, not the actual final. I'm not spoiling that she may or may not be in the finals. I'm saying the top 8, okay? So, um, don't get the wrong idea and say, "Oh, you spoiled it." Well, I'm not saying that she is in the actual grand finals or not. I'm not saying that, okay? If you want to find out who's in the finals, read the fucking manga, all right? But she is a fucking great chef as far as the anime goes, and you know, just her character has developed where she is tenacious, even though she has this very timid personality. She's actually very tenacious underneath all of that exterior, where she wanted to help out her family as a young child, and so she learned the the old style way of how to butcher monkfish. And so, when she finally did have her moment to shine in the end of the prelims, it you just feel so good for her because you feel happy for her because of everything she's gone through. And Yukihira fucking Soma, the truth. This man is the truth. All right. There, when somebody goes out and says I'm not going to lose to any of you uh, bitches, you immediately think he's an annoying ass character, like somebody like Naruto, who's sort of like an annoying character in part one. Um, but Soma pulls it off with style, and this man, like I said, this man is the truth. He is badass. He has a lot of depth. He's hilarious. I mean, this guy has just all the great qualities of a main character. He's not a Mary Sue, which is big, like, or Gary Stu, whichever. Which just basically means he's not a perfect character. He can do no wrong. He can definitely do wrong, and he's done wrong. Um, but he's such a great, innovative chef. He takes things that inspire him and experiments from failures because he's failed so many times. Uh, he's able to succeed. And that's the point he drives home to Erina, who's like, failure is not an option. And Soma represents failure is the option to get better. Like, you fail to get better, which is extremely realistic and extremely relatable. Um, can't tell you how many interviews I failed before I've been able to. I just landed myself a job yesterday as of this recording. I literally landed myself a job from an interview because I failed at so many of them because I didn't know how to speak in an interview. But I've gradually picked up how to do it. And yesterday I fucking nailed the interview. You know what I'm saying? It's the same thing. I'm not trying to brag. I'm just saying that because I'm not a very sociable person. I'm the first to admit it. But because I've learned how to speak to people, especially in an interview over many, many years, I was able to land myself a job with an interview, not just with credentials. Um, so, you know, that's a good thing to have. So, failure breeds success. That is that is a cliche, but it is so fucking true. I cannot stress that enough. So, the character of Yukihiro Soma is extremely relatable, extremely badass, funny. The design is amazing. Um, there's so much to his character, and if you read the manga, if you keep going on after this, you will find out that this man has more depth than you know right now. All right? This man gets better. He actually gets better as a main character. A lot of main characters go downhill past a certain point. He has not gone downhill at all. He keeps getting better as a main character and as a character. I do separate the two. Um, and so there is a lot. There is a gold mine in Yukihiro Sama's character to just waiting to be mined by readers and the author. So all right, let's wrap this shit up. Um, so this anime was fucking amazing, amazing. I would recommend it to anybody. Um, the risque elements, there's a lot of risque elements. There's some fan service and there's a lot of stripping. I look, there's no tits showing, there's no pussy show, there's no dick showing. They don't do that. Okay, this is not a hentai. This is a lot of fan service. It's not full blown ecchi either. So, the thing is, you know, the stripping, the nudity, it's all done for a purpose. There's an artistic reason behind it. I've mentioned this many times. If you read my manga reviews, you know that I've mentioned it a few times. I mentioned it in my live stream, but I will mention it now because it is important to drive home this point, to nail it in, that the reason it's not purposeless like in many things. There's a reason why that the stripping occurs. It is artistic and it's very metaphoric because the thing is, as they're stripping, they're not really stripping. It's an image, it's a mental image suppose that is trying to drill into you the point of how good what they're cooking is tasting. And it makes you hungry as fuck for whatever they're doing, even if you don't like it. Like for example, there are many things I don't even like curry, but I get hungry every time I watch that shit when they're making curry. I'm like, no, I always eat dinner before I watched it because otherwise I would just be like ravenous after watching an episode. You know what I mean? And so the stripping scenes, it's all done with a purpose. It serves a purpose in the story and it serves a purpose artistically. So, you know, it works and I'm not going to complain about it. So, that's it. This was a great fucking anime. The adaptation was unbelievable. Two little weird hiccups that I mentioned, but it doesn't detract from the fact that the anime was amazing. There will, I can't guarantee a season two, but I can speculate that there is a very high chance of a season two because it's very popular. Um, I've been reading the manga for well over a year, and it wasn't, and it's just starting to pick up a lot of steam now. So, I read it before it was cool, but I'm so happy for the series. I'm not gonna start hating on it because it's popular, but I'm so happy that it's finally getting the exposure that it deserves. So, I think there will be season two. So, thank you guys for watching. Check out my other reviews and get ready for an anime summer season overview. The full discussion that includes Shokugeki no Soma, Gangsta, Prison School, Ushio Totora, episodes 1 to 13, Dragon Ball Super, episodes 1 to 13, Overlord. It's hard to keep track of all these. Monster Musume no Iro Nichijo, Shimoneta. Okay, 8 series that are going to be included, and I'm gonna rank them in many different categories. And so stay tuned for that. So thank you guys for watching. We'll see you guys in another video.